What's going on, guys? I want to do a new video series about monsters and memories where I'm going to take tidbits out of long streams that I think has information that you would want to know that might find itself lost in a otherwise very long stream. And if you see here, this is the Monsters and Memories YouTube channel, and you can see right here that they have 913 videos. And what these videos are, if you see here, they are much longer streams, 5 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, so on and so forth. And these are streamed on Twitch, and then the VOD gets ripped from Twitch and uploaded to their YouTube, where you can watch it on demand. And maybe you don't personally have time to watch all of these. Everybody's different, you know. Maybe you can't catch them live, so you can check out the VODs. But I watch as much of this stuff as I can, and I feel there's so much valuable and awesome and neat and fun information in these things, and I just fear that a lot of it can get lost over time. These guys are interacting with you and I and all the fans live in the chat. Let's go over, this intro is going to be a little bit long on the first few of these videos, and then I'll zip it up, but for now, these are going to be kind of long because I need to express what you guys might be missing if you don't know about this, and maybe you can join in on some of these yourself. And I want you guys to know where I'm getting the information and how cool the team is and this experience that you may be missing out on. So the first couple here on top, that's Zukan. He's one of the artists over here. You can see in this first thumbnail, he's working on the wizard class symbol. So he's going to go in his 3D software. He's going to take it from a sketch, as you can see there in the thumbnail, and then turn that into a full rendered three-dimensional animated class symbol, import that into the game, and then in the next playtest, you'll actually be able to experience it in your playtest, of course, if you are a wizard. But if you look through here, he's doing all kinds of stuff all the time. You can see this other one, he's working on the deep gnome female. You can see her sketch right there, and then you can see that he's working on the 3D model. Sits there and shoots the shit with you. Very cool guys over here at Monsters and Memories. If you look on the right, you see a loving robot. He's working on Scarwood. Scarwood, you can see Session 8. Scarwood is an ongoing series where Shawn, a loving robot, is working on a zone named Scarwood, and he's taking the input of the viewers. If you show up live, you can chat with him and maybe influence, how some of the zone is going to be. And then when that gets implemented into the game, you could say, hey, I was there in the creation of this zone, or maybe my word, something I said, affected the way that this zone looks right here. And you'll have that forever. Really cool stuff, crazy experience, mind-blowing in my opinion. It's unique, something that you're not finding anywhere else. No other devs are doing stuff like this, so very, very cool. Also, there's the Goblin Works. If you go over to the live, these guys stream on their personal Twitches, and then it gets the VOD gets uploaded onto YouTube after the fact. All the links are going to be in the description to their personal Twitches, YouTubes if they got them, and then the Monsters and Memories YouTube. All the links, you can find them all down in the description. Goblin over here, he actually does stream on their official YouTube stream, and you can see here he's working on like the little item pictures, like the little thumbnails for the items. You can also see some of the UI here, armor sets. He's working on all of that kind of stuff. He does hundreds of these, and in any given stream, he could do dozens, and you can just sit there and shoot the shit with him and watch him do it. Let me move the screen over a bit and pull this up, get it straightened out. You can kind of see better. You can see what these look like and the detail put into these, and you can watch it go from nothing to like a rudimentary picture, and then he's just working on it, adding all of these details sitting there and just talking to you, playing some music, and it's a good time overall. So that's the spiel. I'm going to probably repeat that for the first couple of videos because I want, everybody to know this, to know where to find this information on your own. You can go back and watch all these VODs on your own. You don't need to get the information from me, but for some, these streams and videos have been going on for multiple years. Like I showed, there's over 900 videos and they're hours long. So I'm the type of lunatic who watches this stuff all the time, or at the very least listens to it with an earbud, like while I'm at work, while I'm running errands, doing that sort of thing. And then I hear, information that I find, amusing or very informative, questions you might have, or little tidbits that go, maybe only get said once and then just doesn't get repeated, maybe questions get answered somewhere, don't get asked again, so on and so forth. I don't need to sit here and ramble on, but that's the idea. So in this video, I'm going to bring you a clip. We're going to talk about it, and then this is going to be a series going on, hopefully bite-sized videos. Outside of these first few with the long intro, I'm going to try to get these to be about 10 to 15 minutes apiece. All right, so something I want to point out straight away is that all of these are subject to change. These are taken from many streams over a couple of years, but the idea is to get a lot of the inside information, stuff that doesn't get talked about all the time, bring some of this information to the front. The game has had the same idea and vision from the beginning, but just keep it in mind, literally everything is subject to change. We are in alpha after all, but these are the bones, and this is, the idea behind it. A lot of things will stay the same. A lot of things will change slightly. Some things may be scrapped altogether. So with that disclaimer out, this clip comes from the community brainstorm on March 7th, 2025. And in this clip, Shawn and Nick talk about expeditions. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you've never heard of them, but after today's video, we're going to know a lot more about them.
So when we've talked about expeditions, what we've discussed to date, and it's going to be one of those things that once we get them in, we're playing with them, naturally we'll iterate and we'll kind of get the right. We'll see if the concept on paper holds up in game and if it's fun. But the idea was expeditions are essentially it's an extension of that concept of, remember the idea of like, what was it to get into hate? Was it blue diamonds, or there's a component cost basically to get into
hate stones, right?
Was it hate stones? I thought for some reason it was like just a
Mulligan's Soulstone of Inaruk. Okay.
And so the idea was, could we leverage some of the systems that we have? Things like how we're handling ships in travel. Diamond and blue diamonds were planar to start. Yeah, I thought it back in the day. Okay. So we're both right. The idea was, let me see if I can make this more concise. The idea was, could we use the systems that we have to create an opportunity for guilds or groups of individuals that wanted to collaborate together to invest in basically getting over to a chunk of content that would be in a way finite, because you've got to get there, you've got to get your winnings back, and that content would then be something that feels a bit more like what we were just talking about with regards to the multi-group sort of like raid camps and things of that nature, along with actual multi-group targets, right? So you're investing up front, you're going on this expedition, you're going to this unique place, and then you're setting up shop for a while to be able to gather stuff up and bring your earnings back.
So in the past, they had spoken about focusing on group content rather than large raid content. This is something fun in the middle, where maybe on some of the smaller ones you can act as one group, a single group, or maybe it would take two groups, possibly three groups, and I'm sure it scales with, the more people you do it with, maybe the more riches you can bring home. But you would act together, work together, and travel to these distant places or special zones, and you'd be able to maybe with an entry fee enter the place, load up, farm some riches, however it is, killing mobs, trade skill wise, all that kind of stuff. Load up your caravans and mules, and then you'd need to lug that back home, probably a good distance, back to a main town, back to a bank, something like that. And they did mention straight out the gate about possibly like an entry fee, like high cost gems, stuff like that. And what that's going to do is act as like a deposit that's adding risk to the situation, right? So there is that risk of failure you put your deposit down, you enter the zone, and if you fail, you lose your deposit, something like that. Whereas if you're successful, you can turn that smaller deposit into a much larger amount of riches, load up your caravans or your mules or what have you, and got to get that back to town and secure the deal. Let's see what else they have to say.
It's not extraction. No. It's just you go over there, you load up your ship, you come back, right? Or you load up your wagons, you come back. Because you've got finite carrying capacity. When I say unique place, what does that mean? Not unique in like, it's still a public place. It's just, say you're traveling to a faraway island, right? That anybody that wants to get to that island has to make that same investment to get there. It's not procedurally generated. It's set. It's part of the world. It just costs, it costs you to get there and get back. Well, yeah, it's like Britain, but less scary.
And to your point, I think the rewards could be a lot of things too, right? It's not just gear for your character. Say there's like a Triminax, so it's our god of plagues in Monsters and Memory. Say there's an expedition themed around that, and maybe you go there, and one of the things that you can farm there is plague stone reagents. And then, what are those plague stone reagents for? Well, we were just talking about the Interruk soul stones for porting to hate. Maybe that's how you get to another plane, right? So that could be one thing. There's also crafting, like end game crafting materials. Like I think Valheim is probably the best comparison for this, right? There's like maybe you have to farm dark iron on some island, right? And then you have to actually transport that back to land. You can't gate or port with it back. You have to actually bring it back by ship because it's so heavy. It's got like no teleport flags on it and stuff. And hell, you may even have to be at one of these expeditions to process or craft an item. Maybe there's like a black anvil or, a special crafting station that you can only get at that location.
So Nick is talking about something pretty neat here about the trade skills. He quickly mentions that maybe the materials that you find, the high value materials that you find in this area will be flagged as no teleport. So if you had a druid or a wizard evac you or even teleport you, or if you tried to gate out of there, it would drop those materials on the floor as you gate out. So you have to manually load up, like they mentioned, a caravan or a mule or something, and you would have to travel that back to town physically. And maybe, if you put it in your bank or something, it unlocks the travel restrictions, or maybe it just always has them. But the other cool tidbit here was Nick had mentioned also that there could be special requirement crafting stations. The example that he used was dark iron ore from World of Warcraft. And there's more situations in World of Warcraft, like some of the top alchemy recipes, you had to craft them at a special alchemy station that was in Sholomance or Skolomance, however you want to say it, which was a high level dungeon within World of Warcraft. So every time you needed to make these elixirs and whatnot and flasks for raiding, you would have to get a group and do that high-level dungeon, get to the back to where this crafting table was, and then you could craft and you can use it. So it was just, something that made you interact with the world that, at some point in the game may be less traveled. Of course, when it first comes out, it'll be ran a lot, but, at some point you go there less, and it's just these little ways. That's just one small little way where this can keep you interacting with certain areas of the world. And just give you stuff to do. The example used with the dark iron ore is in Blackrock Mountain in World of Warcraft. That is the only place you can smelt the dark iron ore, which is a cool lore idea. It's deep into the core of Azeroth, and that's where it's the hottest, and you can smelt the ore down there in the special smelting area. So something like that. So maybe these materials that you can find out in the world. So you're out soloing, you're grouping in different dungeons, in different zones, you're doing whatever, and you're saving up these materials. Now you need to bring these materials into this area with you in the expedition. And while you're in that expedition, you can maybe smelt down this special ore or whatever, and then you can bring that back with you. Super freaking cool and very like lore-oriented stuff there. Awesome stuff. I really like it. See what else they have to say.
And everything that's described there, honestly, those are sort of like content decisions utilizing existing systems, right? It's not like a weird pie in the sky crazy thing. It's just sort of how we organize that content. I think probably the most unique thing would be, and even that's not crazy, is if we're saying it's an island in this example, like getting the ship there, or the idea of the ship, right? But we are already building that stuff in. We're using. So when you look at the tech that we've invested in, like our mounts, and our mounts have inventory slots, and we can define what kind of bags they can have and what that carrying capacity is and all that stuff. We can build that into then like ships. And so we're doing that with this in mind, right? So we're talking about pack animals, and we're talking about mounts, and we're getting that stuff in. You probably saw it in an update, like the mount inventory and things. And the fact that mounts can die, right? So maybe your ship can die while you're out there. That would be bad. And so like all of that's built into one of our existing systems that we can then port over to a concept like a hired ship. Like Yushu's is saying, like even if you don't like actually control the ship, you hire it. It costs you a fair amount to hire the ship. But the ship also provides a certain amount of inventory. You're loading stuff onto that ship to take it back using pack animals that you take with you, or carts that you take with you, right? So it's really just taking these little systems that we have, and then building the expeditions out of them. It's not like we need a whole bunch of new tech to be able to do this.
So they add another cool tidbit here, where mounts or vehicles in the sense of a ship that you might hire can die or be destroyed. So you pay for a mount. Two, they've explained that mounts and ships have carrying capacity or inventory slots, which this is already in the game. So you can go to a dungeon, you can leave your mount or mule at the door. It's not an instance, but you can leave them at the entrance of the dungeon, the opening of the dungeon. You can go inside, do your thing, and you can make runs back to your mount and load up your mount and then go back to your group or such like that. So the same exists here. You don't want to bring your mount into the dungeon because that's risking it dying, something like that. So here you may bring your mount and then hire a ship, which that could be the cost in itself. The cost of entry could just be hiring the ship. The ship in this example takes you to the island, and then you take your mounts off the ship, you go in, you're loading up your mounts, you bring your mounts back to the ship. Now there's a couple of risks there. Not only the entry fee, but your mount could die and you lose your spoils. I'm not sure what they're talking about, but I mean, maybe you can encounter pirates and on your travels on the ship or something, and you're going to have to fight off the pirates as a group. You're already a group of combatants. So, maybe there's a shot that there's some sort of event and you have to successfully fend off some sort of bandits or pirates and something like that. They're kind of just spitballing here. But that's the general idea, and these can be added or removed at any point. It's a complex and a moving thing. Just if it's not there at launch, it can be added later on. It could be evolved over time. There could be different versions, different kinds. Not all of them work like this or that. Not all of them require a boat, so on and so forth. So that's going to be it for this one. This is about where I want these to be in the bite-size range. There's going to be hopefully a good amount of these, and I can continue to put them out as I listen to all of the ones that I've missed in the past and as they keep putting things out in the future. we'll have more information or more context to these in the future. But like I said, the first few of these that come out are going to have the longer intro because I feel it's in the best for me to spread that information so you guys know where to go. You can catch these guys live. You can come and watch the full length VODs yourselves. First and foremost, and then if you don't have the time for that, or if you're not able to do that, then you can watch my videos where I will try to pull the nice and awesome little tidbits that I find, and I can put them into smaller bite-sized videos like this. But again, some of them in the future will have more context and less intro. And then also some of these little tidbits are maybe a little bit smaller than this. And what I'll try to do is to put a couple of them in there, that are kind of maybe relatable to each other to fill out a full like 10 to 15 minutes or so. So hopefully you enjoy this because I like this a lot and I've heard a lot of cool things. And, after hearing a bunch of these little tidbits, I was like, this stuff can be just, lost in 900 plus 3 hour plus videos. It's just out there. And I feel like I want to make sure everybody knows about that. I want to bring it to you. So hopefully you enjoy those. And if you do, I'll see you in the next one.